at public meetings twice that Papa Awolowo told him was one of his closest confidants in Nigeria, and that was the truth. We will talk for 5 hours. He loved me, and we talk and talk. That man had a clue that will have made Nigeria be like an America now, and he analyzed it to me, how it will raise our currency level, massively embark on production, and people will be like they do for America, keep their dollar, borrow it all over the world, all over the world. That's what he planned. That's what some of the soldiers grabbed from his Apapa residence. They thought they would use it, they couldn't use it. That was a great man. That was a great man, a man of knowledge. Oh, there are traits of Awolowo people didn't know. But we talk and talk, and I challenge him. And he said something to me. When I gave him the synopsis of my book, Black Man Dilemma, he took 4 days to read it, and we started to debate. After he has read it, you know what Chief Awolowo told me?
What did he tell you?
He said, what I wrote in Black Man Dilemma, he had been thinking of it for 20 years. And on one occasion, when he went by Concorde, the flight with the highest speed on earth, he asked his wife, Mama Segun, in Yoruba, do you think it's the same God who created us and these people? With the speed of this plane, we are drinking, we are moving about, we didn't feel anything. He said he has always been bothered about it. But his own solution was that Papa Awolowo, he told me, he said it's education that has made the difference between us and the rest of the world. To an extent, I agree with him, but there are other factors that made us to be who we are, the black man. He said this education, and he gave an analogy. I didn't mention his name in the book, but he's the one who told me. He said he believes so much in the power of education. He said if we had a way, he said we didn't know how many were Nigerians then. Let's even assume then that we are 80 million. If there's a system or a way where they can carry all of us to America and put us in the best places in the United States, and where they can bring Americans from different parts of that country and put them in the arid, semi-desert areas, very backward, very bad areas of our country, he said in 10 years, these areas we think are very backward and bad will become like paradise. And our people in America, in the best places in New York, we will not be able to maintain the skyscrapers. Cockroaches will be flying. People may throw refuse in Hudson Bay. He said he believed that the Americans, if they didn't bring anything to this country, and they will kneel down in the arid areas, and they will kneel down and say, God, you made us to make America what it was. Please, we want to turn this place into a paradise.
The welfare of millions of people for generations to come may be affected by the wisdom which we here display. If Nigerian leaders and our British partners are to prove themselves worthy of their trust, now is the time for us solemnly and truly to dedicate ourselves to seeking the greatest good of the greatest number of our people in Nigeria. It is to this end that my colleagues and I pledge ourselves. The first main task of the conference is to resolve those problems which defied solutions in 1957 and to evolve for Nigeria a constitution of which both the British and the Nigerian peoples can be proud. The second is to get Her Majesty's government to agree to April 2nd, 1960 as the target date for Nigeria's independence. Independence for Nigeria in 1960 is imperative. But independence for Nigeria as a corporate entity is not enough. The peoples of Nigeria must at the same time be guaranteed their freedom. We must ensure that in an independent Nigeria, individual citizens throughout the land enjoy liberty, human dignity, and equality under the law. There must be one Nigeria with one constitution and one law for all. Let us therefore, Mr. Chairman, sir, close our ears to the counsel of despair, which says that we cannot here at this conference agree on a constitution. If there's any doubt among us as to what should be written into the constitution, let us, as Democrats that we profess ourselves to be, refer such problems, as the Gaulle has done recently, to the people whom we profess to represent, either just before or at the federal elections late in 1959. The welfare of millions of people for generations to come may be affected by the wisdom which we here display. If Nigerian leaders and our British partners are to prove themselves worthy of their trust, now is the time for us solemnly and truly to dedicate ourselves to seeking the greatest good of the greatest number of our people in Nigeria. It is to this end that my colleagues and I pledge ourselves. The first main task of the conference is to resolve those problems which defied solutions in 1957 and to evolve for Nigeria a constitution of which both the British and the Nigerian peoples can be proud. The second is to get Her Majesty's government to agree to April 2nd, 1960 as the target date for Nigeria's independence.
Rich members of the ruling class or one of their victims. Nigeria happens to all of us every day. It's the degree to which we are conscious of what is happening to us that differs from person to person.
Degree of consciousness?
Yeah, degree of consciousness.
What does that mean?
You have some nebulists in place of citizens, persons who are sleepwalking through life, perpetually making excuses for their oppressors and ruiners instead of focusing on what is happening to them and how to prevent that from being passed down to the next generation. They would rather make excuses on behalf of those who are ruining their lives. So it's a function of consciousness. If you are unaware of the fact that you are oppressed, you are more receptive to the idea of oppression. But the more aware you become, the more conscious you are, the more you can articulate the condition of the victim, you become a danger to the oppressive system, and you become an irritant to those who have become accepting of oppression.
State Affairs with Admiral Nubilo is live.
You think you are the greatest sufferer in the world? Do you know that men are sometimes banished for life? Do you know that men sometimes lose all their yams and even their children? I had 6 wives once. I have none now, except that young girl who doesn't know her right from her left. Do you know how many children I have buried? Children I begot in my youth and strength? 22. I did not hang myself, and I am still alive. If you think you are the greatest sufferer in the world, ask my daughter, Akweni, how many twins she has born and thrown away. Have you not heard the song they sing when a woman dies? For whom is it well? For whom is it well? There is no one for whom it is well. Omakalonye, Omakalonye, Onwelonyo Dilema. I have no more to say to you.
State Affairs with Edmond Nubilo is live.
How would you rate the response of African states to COVID?
You know, we were lucky in Africa. A lot of people say one thing or the other. First of all, let me put it this way. We must understand the way COVID behaved in Europe is not the way we behave in Africa. If I was on a panel when one of our ministers was saying, COVID was killing people in Europe, it's not killing people in Nigeria, it's because of what our government is doing. And I said, no, sir, it's not because of what, it is what the virus is doing or is not doing in Nigeria. That's why. And why? Let me explain. If you look at the figures of the deaths in Europe and other parts, you find that elderly people were mostly affected. People who have comorbidities, people who had, heart disease, diabetes, all those kind of things. The aged people. And that's where most of the cases were occurring. The African population is the reverse. If you look at the population pyramid, you find that while Europe is almost it's like a triangle turned upside down because the older people are more. In Africa, it is the proper triangle. We have the younger people at the bottom. So the people that were pegging off with COVID were those in the older set. So more of them were dying. In Africa, it is not that we're not getting COVID. We were getting COVID, but we were not dying. So, but we're transmitting the disease.
Why were we not dying? Because,
again, comorbidities. I've told you the majority of the people up there, there are all sorts of reasons, but one of the major reasons for that, you have a larger percentage of Europeans who are older people, who have diabetes, who have hypertension, who have all those things. COVID came and wiped them out.
State Affairs with Edmond Nubilo is live.
Splash FM 105.5. Everyone is talking about this Sunday. Arsenal versus Chelsea will clash in the TV or Go TV. Don't miss. Splash FM 105.5.
State Affairs with Edmond Nubilo is live.
And I had the student union car, which I was using to control the 40 lorry loads of students. And when we got to government, we met the Prime Minister, and he was asking me questions. Mr. Oyedeji, what have I done to you that you have broken my pictures and pictures of Sir Ahmadu Bello?
What did you tell him?
I told him, Sir, Your Excellency, I did not know you, and you have not offended me, but you have offended the nation Nigeria, and that is why we are spontaneously reacting because of the figures, the incorrect figures of census that you released.
State Affairs with Edmond Nubilo is live.
Put it this way. The real victim is the person who is unconscious or unaware of his state of existence. I am a Nigerian. I wear no glasses in relation to my country. I see Nigeria in its ugly nudity at any point in time.
Ugly nudity?
Oh, very ugly country.
Your
Very,
country.
very, very ugly country.
Are you ugly?
Unfortunately, every Nigerian is rendered ugly by his circumstances unless we continue to lie to ourselves. I spent 3 weeks in prison. I had no business being there. And I saw multiple persons who had no business in that prison either.
In Ekiti?
Yes. Multiple persons. There were 11 persons in my cell. I found that at least 9 of them had no business being there.
What were they doing there?
The Nigerian state decided that they should spend some time there. Maybe somebody offended someone, maybe some civil case that should have been settled in a civil manner or in civil court was criminalized because somebody knew policeman.
State Affairs with Edmond Below is live.
Religion in its root comes from the Latin word religare, or you go to Old French, religio. Both of them means the same thing, to bind. But what is being bound by religion is the human imagination, which is the seat of our creativity. You then come to a place like Nigeria where religion has been weaponized to the point where charlatans are touting all kind of funny precepts and principles and dogmas are being taught, and people are embracing them as truth. People are telling you they enter toilet in one European country to come out in the toilet in another European country. People are telling you to fast and pray for Nigeria when they didn't fast and pray to build all the prayer cities and redemption camps that they are building all over the place. People are telling you to embrace Sharia. Meanwhile, the Sharia that they are embracing here does not build the kind of fantastic countries that have been built in the Emirates or even in Saudi Arabia. Religion has become a destructive force, an excuse for not doing anything, for inaction, for cowardice.
State Affairs with Edmond Below is live.
When I arrived in the United States in 1925, I was not qualified to enter any university. As a matter of fact, I was studying for my London matriculation. At that time, I got to Western Boys High School, Methodist Boys High School, and the highest class there was for Junior Cambridge. So I entered Storer College, which was a junior college, and I took certain courses, and one in particular was American history. I never studied American history, I studied English history, and more American history, but at an elementary level. So when I took these courses, then I studied the causes of the Civil War, 1863 and thereabouts, and then when Abraham Lincoln was president, and I read most of his speeches and his writings, and he kept on talking about equality of the human race, equality of Americans, and the American Constitution was made to apply to all citizens irrespective of their status in life or their race or their language or their culture. Well, then I was 21, young, it's true, but this made an impression on me.
State Affairs with Edmond Below is live.
So that was Zeke there, talking about his journey to the United States of America. He got to the United States of America in 1925. He was 21, so he was born in 1904. I want to read from Nnamdi Azikiwe's speech that he made in the Legislative Council in Kaduna on the 3rd of March 1948. And he made this speech supporting a motion to adopt the Memorandum on Education Policy in Nigeria. So let's read. I do not agree with the sentiments expressed by the honorable member who thinks that educational progress has made our children become a social problem. Are you there? A member of the Legislative Council made the point that educational progress had made the children become a social problem. And Nnamdi Azikiwe said, no, I do not agree with that notion. He continues, it is true that people coming to this particular part of the world, not understanding our philosophy and psychology, may misunderstand us and feel that we constitute a problem. It is a misunderstanding of social attitudes. I do not agree with my honorable friends who feel that today education is making our children rebel against authority. This attitude is not peculiar to Nigeria. It is so in all parts of the world. Azikiwe continues, I know that if some of our honorable members were to visit England or the United States, they would be shocked at the manners of some of the children of these countries. They speak to their fathers without calling them sir, and they do not kneel before them as we do. Although the average African would be shocked at this behavior, yet that does not mean that English and American children are necessarily rebellious. They've been educated to realize the practical workings of democracy. You see, he didn't say they've been educated on democracy. He said they've been educated on the practical workings of democracy. You know, one of the problems of Africa is we acquire a lot of knowledge. You know, sometimes we all boast, I have masters, I have PhD. But we don't apply the knowledge. That is why we cannot solve our problems. So most of the times, Nnamdi Azikiwe made that point. We can quote Shakespeare, but we don't know how to use words, how to put words together, the chemistry of words to lift a nation. I have read science. I read physics. I know the theory of physics, but you cannot put that theory to work. That has been the bane of underdevelopment in Africa. Applied knowledge. If you check our universities, many of our students have done research on many areas of our problems. But those researches are just there. Nobody is applying them. So in this case, it is not knowledge that is power, really. Yes, knowledge is power. But more powerful is applied knowledge. You have studied physics, so what can you create? Can you build an aeroplane? Why were we not thinking of building aeroplanes? Why? If you go to Europe, places like Rome, Russia, you will see ancient buildings, monuments. You see a building built more than 400 years ago. And you'll be wondering, how? That means their thinking level 400 years ago was so deep. You cannot find such in Africa. We were building mud houses. We didn't put them up. We didn't go beyond mud houses. We were there until the Europeans came. And then you now hear that the first story building was built somewhere. So if you go around Africa now, you find few monuments. That means our thinking has been very low. And that is why we were easily enslaved. They played on our minds. We were easily enslaved. How would a few people just come with sheep and gradually enslave the whole continent? I mean, we were thinking far, far below them. Today they say China. China is not an emerging nation. China had become a superpower more than 300 years ago, just that they fell. This is now the rise of China again. So if you go to China, you see the great walls of China. Mastery of technology and architecture. As we speak now, in 2026, we don't even build architectural masterpieces in Africa. If you go and see some of the buildings that TET Fund is building in our universities, in polytechnics, they are some of the most poorly designed buildings you can find anywhere. Bent walls, slanting roofs. We are not building architectural masterpieces. Since Cocoa House was built in the 60s, no governor had dared in Oyo to drop another monument. Because the thinking level gradually reduces. So we have become so flat in our thought processes. But again, the beautiful ones have been born. Look at what Azikiwe said here. Still, on the Memorandum on Education Policy in Nigeria, he goes on. He says, as an instrument of change, this memorandum is welcome. The average African child should be educated to appreciate that the status quo is not the best of all possible worlds. He should realize that his opposite number in other parts of the world is also seeking knowledge for a richer and fuller life. I'm reading a speech that was delivered in 1948 by Nnamdi Azikiwe. He said the African child should realize that his opposite number in other parts of the world is also seeking knowledge for a richer and fuller life. I feel, therefore, that the philosophy of the memorandum is worthy of commendation. I do not think that we should celebrate the return of the good old days when we would have to go back to the villages and our children would have to content themselves with the chores of the home and merely bow to their parents. I agree that it is essential to have training in domestic matters, but that is not the exclusive job of the schools. And I do not think that the Honorable the Director of Education should be taken to task on this. After all, it is really the function of the home to train the child. The parents should see to it that their children receive moral training and are taught to respect their elders. Schools should merely act as a supplementary agency. Today, it is the school that is even acting as the primary agency. Parents have abandoned their right to moral training of their children. So when the child is not doing well, the first thing the parents want to say, I'm going to move this child from this school to the other school. They don't even have self-examination to ask, where is this child coming from? You as a father, when was the last time you sat down and read your child's book? When was the last time you sat down and read a book with your child? You always have the excuse, I'm busy. It is in the reading that you are discussing and shaping the mind of the child. As you read, the child will ask questions. Some of you, once your child gets to primary 6, you cannot help your child again with mathematics. Because it now goes beyond you. You can't think of it. And yet you are a graduate of engineering. I have a friend, a graduate of engineering, and is running away from solving primary 6 questions that the son brings home. I say, guy, man, I don't forget those things. I don't forget those things. I said, how will you forget? How can you forget what you read? I said, go and buy those books again. Yes, you are likely to forget. When I saw the signs that my daughters were growing and their mathematical problems were getting more complex, and I'm the one they will always run to, I just told myself I cannot afford to fail them. I went back and bought all the textbooks. I bought all the JSS 1, JSS 2, JSS 3. I bought all of them. I began to study. And when we study together, I penetrate their minds. I will break down mathematical questions and bring morality into it. And before you know it, we are discussing intensely. Do your best to raise your child. It is your responsibility first before that of the teacher. Azikiwe says here that the parents should see to it that their children receive moral training and are taught to respect their elders. Schools should merely act as a supplementary agency. That is why the family is the primary agency of society. I know everybody cannot be like me who will go and buy a mathematics textbook, but I'm only saying make an effort. Make an effort. Some will employ teachers to help. Yes, private teachers can help. But you make an effort. If it is not mathematics, make an effort in other subjects. Have that close touch with the child, and you will help shape the life of the child. And if at the end of the day the child derails, you will raise your hand to the heavens and say you did your best. Nnamdi Azikiwe, 1948. What do you think? Call the radio station. Call the radio station 070 694 930 00 070 694 930 00. You can also call the radio station on 070 144 757 70. 070 144 757 70. It is Splash 105.5 FM, the Integrity Station. Good morning.
Hello?
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Edmond. Hello?
I can hear you. Make your point.
Okay, good morning, Mr. Edmond. Okay, my name is Solomon. Well, I just want to greet you and salute you for enlightening us, giving us, shedding light on things that are in darkness and learning from you. Honestly, I really learned. I'm a silent listener, but today I just decided to call just to thank you and encourage you to, do more for us as youth that are coming up. God bless you, Mr. Edmond. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for calling the radio station. Thank you. Good morning. Hello.
Good morning, Bilo.
Good morning.
This is one of your silent listeners. Iulezi Eze. While I was listening to Nnamdi Azikiwe, while giving contrary view to what the previous speaker said. He talked about resistance, and I relate that to the present day Northern Nigeria, where the leaders not really value education, and that. So if this speech was,
all right, that line is breaking.
Then it means nothing has changed. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Yeah, it means if the Northern Authority perceive education as resistance to authority, it means that nothing has changed right from 1948. Even after the amalgamation, it means that Nigeria cannot still move forward because a part of the country still sees education as a form of resistance. And the analogy he made about children in the UK doing the same thing we do here, I think it's all about how we reason. So for me, since the class is all about leadership, I think currently in Nigeria, there's a parallel level between the south and the north. The southern leaders haven't got there yet, but the northerners seem to be taking us back. For as long as they see education as a form of resistance, as long as you have the Al-Majaris on the street who ought to have been in school, I think we have a long way to go at Monobilo. Thank you very much.
Thank you. But let me also make a clarification. This speech did not indicate the region where the person who made the speech that Zeke opposed came from. So that person might also come from the south. Because even in Yoruba land, Yoruba people don't play with respect. A child can roll to greet on the floor. So that person might even be a Yoruba person that spoke, that Zeke was opposing, not just as, so let's not put it on the north. Hello, good morning.
Hello, Bido. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Well done, my dear brother. I really commend your effort this morning for lecturing we fathers, especially we fathers. Most of us are busy forgetting our children. Another thing I want to talk about, so Bido, some of these textbooks, I think some of them are so costly to the extent that some parents cannot even afford it because of the economy of Nigeria now. Anyway, God will help us and teach us the way to go about it. Some students too, I have a child, I used to have a child, not my really daughter, Sha. Whenever you are teaching them, I used to call them together. So I will be teaching them. I'm good in mathematics anyway. So if you are teaching them, she will be telling you another thing, say this is not the way the teacher to act. But at the end of the day, she will fail the question. So I discovered that she's not interested in that mathematics. And I let the parents know, I cannot continue holding lecture for this year. They are not paying me anything. I used to call them with my own children. So to put them through, to correct their mistakes, to do the assignment with them, but see, some of these children nowadays, they are not ready to learn. That's what I want to put in there. But as you said, let we parents also try our best, putting our best over them. If they now decide to derail, fine. God sees our heart that we have done our own. Thank you, my dear brother, for encouraging parents for doing this. If there is a way the parents can get those textbooks, I think it's helpful. Because some of us, what we did in the universities that time and what we did, we have forgotten those secondary school solutions, and they had to formulas and whatever. But if we can get those textbooks, it will help. Thank you, my dear brother.
Thank you.
All fathers should listen to you. I hope, I wish all fathers should keep listening to your program, especially this morning own. Then we will improve and Nigeria will change totally. This is Esther Sergeant John speaking with you from Akwata. Thank you.
Thank you for calling the radio station. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Let's raise the child. And that is why I use this opportunity to call for huge investment in primary education. We are playing with primary education. We are not investing in that sector. That is where you catch the child. That is where you nurture the child. That is where you groom integrity, transparency, hard work, smartness into the child. That is when you indoctrinate the child. The kind of primary schools we have, they are not indoctrinating. They are just teaching 1 + 1, 2, 2 + 2, 4, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, B, O, Y, boy, B, O, X, box. So the child that has crammed all the spellings is the most brilliant. The most brilliant is the child that thinks, that asks, why is 1 + 1 not 3? Why must it be 2? Then you prove it to the child. Then he asks again, is 1 + 1 always 2? We must raise questions. It is Splash 105.5 FM, the Integrity Station. Stay tuned.
State Affairs with Edmond Below is live.
Splash FM 105.5.
Pervasive hood. Welcome back. Dr. Festus Adedayo is my guest on Voices. Voices is the state of the nation. This pervasive hold of hegemony on the thought process of the people,
yes,
is it in the interest of society?
I told you it could be negative, it could be positive. The Western region was lucky because the pervasive hold on the mental process of the people eventually translated into positive development for them.
Don't forget Operation Waitier.
Yes.
The Tribune was an instrument.
Yes, I think the Tribune was also a counter-hegemonic force. As I told you earlier, Akintola was also, leading a political group of its own. It was using the Daily Sketch. And, of course, there was hegemonic battle and counter-hegemonic battle. Ultimately, you will say that it was not desirable for Yoruba land. But at the end of the day, I'm looking at the output for Yoruba people. Perhaps we could have gone further than this if the battle was not as intense. Because you had in SL Akintola, even if you read through Awolowo's book, it described Akintola as one of the most articulate. He said he was capable of arguing same issue from different ends of the perspectives. He was a polemicist. And such brand of leadership was literally incinerated in Yoruba land. If somebody like Awolowo had worked hand in hand with SL Akintola, the FRA Williams, the Akinola Maja, the Shoni Barres, Eso Gbadamosi, and all that, I'm sure the Southwest would have been far better than this.
But from what I can get from your work here, what these men did was to use the media to control self-presentation and manage visibility.
Yes.
It was in their own advantage.
Yes, I think it started off by, presenting as their advantage. But ultimately, it became the advantage of the southwest part of Nigeria.
But it divided the Southwest. It divided the Yoruba nation.
It divided Yoruba nation. And indeed, Some scholars have said that, don't forget that 1962 to 1966, which I brand as a chapter in my work as a year of political turmoil, was the year that the bulk of this chaos actually happened. And it's also led to the 1966 takeover of government in Nigeria. Of course, you know the federal government also had Daily Times. Daily Times was in support of Akintola. Daily Times was attacking Awolowo, as Daily Times and Sketch were attacking Awolowo and his political group. The Tribune was also a counter-hegemonic weapon, and it was also attacking them and presenting Awolowo as the most desirable leader, and his brand of leadership the most desirable for the Southwest.
You said in this your very incisive PhD thesis entitled The Nigerian Tribune and Hegemonic Politics in Nigeria, 1949 to 1992, that the role played by the Tribune bred a press or whose views were indistinguishable from politicians. You said this is not a commendable path for journalism.
I think with the benefit of hindsight, as I told you earlier, not the Tribune alone. I've mentioned an array of newspapers of the First Republic who acted as a theater of war in the collapse of that First Republic. It's as you said, that work is incisive. I spent 10 years on that PhD work, on the research, and I gathered so many materials from Egbe Omodudua's bulletin. I went to the archives. I researched the Tribune from 1949 to 1992, as you said. I think that right now, the role that the newspaper press played at that moment, generally, cannot be said to be desirable. And of course, it included the Nigerian Tribune, the Daily Express. And don't forget that at some point, Daily Express was edited by S.L. Akintola, and it was eventually edited by Jack Conde, while Onabanjo was editing, the Daily Service rather, while Onabanjo was editing the Express. So it's a combination of these actors on the media scene. The editors also didn't play, editors of all the newspaper press that were available at that time also didn't play a commendable aspect of their roles. Their roles were not too commendable because I'm sure nobody can use the kind of language that they used against that. For instance, there was Mbono Ojike had a column in the West African Pilot. He was an acolyte of Nnamdi Azikiwe, and he was writing Weekend Catechism. That was the title of the column. And at some point, he was reviewing the book written by Chief Obafemi Awolowo. And he said that Awolowo was an agent of imperialism, that he was an ethnic stooge. And of course, the such descriptions, you wonder if it was still the same Awolowo who ended up administering a Western region that was seen as a model for other regions. So I wouldn't really single out the Tribune in that theater. It was a combine. It was a connivance. And the role that the media played at that time was not totally desirable. And of course, it also continued in the Second Republic. Easily did the Tribune, for instance, substitute Shehu Shagari for S.L. Akintola. And of course, when Concord also came to the theater, it started lampooning Chief Obafemi Awolowo. And of course, the Tribune did not also spare Concord and MK Abiola, and they said he was an agent of the CIA. There was a particular headline that when you read that headline, you shudder, saying that the CIA had planted MK Abiola in Nigeria with his fabulous wealth and all that. So it was a theater. And I'm sure, I quite agree with scholars who say that the press the newspaper press, especially of the First and Second Republic, are implicated in the collapse of the two republics.
Dr. Festus Adedayo, thank you for featuring on Voices.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Dr. Festus Adedayo is the author of the thesis, The Nigerian Tribune and Hegemonic Politics in Nigeria. Dr. Adedayo is a former chairman editorial board of the National Life newspaper.
Different Yugoslavia has about 6 or 8 different nationalities, just as Nigeria has. And Yugoslavian people have been clamoring for self-determination, each nation in Yugoslavia. And their leaders have said, no, the more the merrier, let us all go together. Over the years, centuries,
But
the last of
Bronze
them,
Tito was able to keep them.
Listen to me. The last of them was Joseph Tito. Joseph Tito was an army man, a general.
.5 FM, the Integrity Station. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Your name and where you're calling from?
I'm Kosim Oladewaju, speaking from Akoba. So, in my own opinion, I think we should restructure the Nigeria education system. What do I mean by restructuring? The first problem we are facing is that the language that they are using to disseminate that information to us. As for me now, I'm a Yoruba man. I have many things to say, but I'm short of expression because I can't express myself as I will in English language. Yoruba is my mother tongue. Japanese, they learn science through their own language. Iranians, they learn science through Persian, their mother tongue. So there is a certain page on Facebook. The man is teaching science in Yoruba. He means science in Yoruba. In fact, when I watched that Facebook and the post of the man and the video the man is doing, it's very, very impressive. There are many things that are very difficult when they are explaining to us in English language when we are learning geography. But as the man continues to be teaching us that geography on Facebook through Yoruba language, I understand many things. Even those things I couldn't understand when I was in school as a science student. So maybe we should structure our educational system. And to restructure educational system of Nigeria is not possible unless we restructure the entire country. That is why I am one of the people that have been advocating for the total restructuring of the country. If we restructure the country, if the eastern region they can be teaching their own science in Igbo language or English language. Hausa may choose whatever they like. And if Yoruba decided, okay, today we want to rewrite all our textbook in Yoruba so that our children can learn the education first hand with our mother tongue. I think that is the only solution I see. Because most of the things they explain to us in English, it's only people that will lie. We cannot understand it very well the way we understand our Yoruba language. So that's my own contribution. Good morning, sir.
Thank you. But he speaks good English. He speaks English, good English, the way it should be spoken, simple. Okay? Professor Babatunde Fafunwa wrote a comprehensive paper on mother tongue as a teaching tool. I think I have that paper and I have not studied it. I'll study it. Let me understand deeply what that professor was saying. He was Nigeria's Minister of Education at some point. Professor Babatunde Fafunwa. Okay, thank you. Thank you. You see, as a youth corps member, I remember my first encounter with the SS3 students of St. Louis Grammar School. When I arrived at the school, I told them I wanted to teach physics. And the school had only one physics teacher for SS1, SS2, and SS3. So you can imagine how far she can go. Not even a young woman. So when I came in, they were happy to receive me, but they were skeptical about my quality because other youth corps members that attempted did not do well. They ran away. But none of them wanted to teach mathematics or physics. Yes. And remember, children, a lot of people don't like mathematics. It's understandable. So that should not be a problem. Every child must not be good in mathematics. Children can be, mathematics can even make you sleep. You just start drawing, so sometimes it's not easy. It's not easy. So the point I'm making is that finally, the school told me to go and teach SS1. And the physics teacher was happy that I would not be taking SS1. But I told the principal, I think that was Mrs. Okoji, I said, no, I want to teach SS3. SS3. I said, why? I said, before I came for youth service, I was already a teacher at JAM classes, teaching A-level students that I've always taught exam classes, that I want to teach this exam class, and they will come out in flying colors. So I spoke confidently. So they told the teacher to take me to the SS3 class to test me. So immediately I entered the class. The students protested. They didn't want a youth corps member to teach them. They were going to miss their teacher. As the teacher was telling them, keep quiet, I didn't even listen to them. I've already picked up the chalk and I was now writing on the board. So I ignored them. The class just got quiet on its own. Because they saw that I was just writing formulas on the board. I was just writing and writing. When I turned and then asked them the first question, I said, when a ball gets to the maximum height, what is the velocity? When a ball gets to the maximum height, what is the velocity? And I saw their hands up. I said, you, and they said 0, 0, 0. Okay. Why is it 0? That's not the question. How is it 0? They all kept quiet. Because the physics textbook has already told you that when a ball gets to the maximum height, the velocity is 0. They know. How? They didn't know. So at that point, I now intimidated them. They now calmed down. So the point is, that's why we are talking about applied knowledge. You see, when you kick a ball up, when Messi kicks a ball up, that ball must come down. When you throw anything up, it must come down. That's the law of gravity. So when the ball there's a maximum height the ball reaches before it starts coming down. And that is what you call maximum height, H. So when a ball gets to the maximum height, before it starts returning, it's like now when you are running to a wall, by the time you run to that wall, you must stop first before you can turn. So at that point where you stopped, your speed is 0. Do you get? So when the ball gets to the maximum height, before it returns, start coming down, it will stop first. That is why they say maximum height is 0. And they say, So the point I'm making is that we need to lift our standard. If somebody had demonstrated that to them, and you cannot have one physics teacher in a secondary school where you have SS1 3 class, SS2 3 classes, SS3 3 classes. You can't have one physics teacher. You're not serious about education. The money that will be used to employ teachers, somebody has kept it. Okay, now what we're discussing, Bosun was even saying, in primary school, you dare ask your teacher certain question. They keep quiet, my friend. What's wrong with you? You don't allow the children to ask questions. Even when the question is the so-called stupid question, let them ask it. Let them express themselves. Let them express themselves. We need to fund primary education, secondary education. We need to fund them. There's a caller, Bosun. Hello, good morning.
Edmond.
Baba.
This is your old man.
Yes.
Remind me of when I was in secondary school. The early classes. We call it from 1, from 2, from 3. We were only doing general science. Not until you are in Form 4 before you start to do the sciences separately. That is the physics, the chemistry, and the biology. You see, all this, I was very good in general science. But when I entered Form 4, a lot of things affected me. When we resume school, I will be in school for the first 2 weeks. By the time the principal sent me away from school for school fees, it is only when we make about 2 weeks for our exam that I will return. I will start notes. In fact, that badly affected me in my second school day. But you see, let me tell you, what was that our fathers did not know, let me say, because of something, they didn't know the value of education. Our grandfathers didn't know. Instead of carrying the elites among them are the ones you hear today. Their badges, the obeisance, the identity vehicles. Look, let me tell you, most of their kids, their offspring, they are now residents in US and UK. Many of them are not. I live many of them in Lagos. You see, Edmond, a lot of things happen in Nigeria. What you said is what affected Nigeria actually, really. It's not for the army. Well, I don't know what I would have, maybe I would have been in the army. Because by the time I entered the army, I started to re-educate myself. Edmond, let me stop at that. God bless you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I'm also worried because I've done some sampling. Most people can't remember what they read in the university. Most people can't remember what they read in the university. I've done that sample. They have forgotten everything they read in the university. They can't even remember secondary school. And I don't think that's the way. If you studied engineering and you are not working as an engineer, I think you should not also forget the basic principles of what you studied. You should be able to enunciate it at any time. And the only way you can do that is to continuously refresh your mind. Some of you can't even remember the books you read in the university. You've dumped all of them. You've moved on. And that is why, we are so loud. We are so loud. Even on our road, you see unnecessarily, we are honking the car horn. Pee, 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 pee. We are so loud and chaotic. It simply means in our personal life, we are not even calm. That is why when some people are speaking to their children, they are shouting. That's how my mother shouted at me. That's how my mother shouted at me. Then when your child is shouting, you say, keep quiet. Why are you shouting? Can you see the hypocrisy in parenting? The mother is always shouting. Then when one of the child is shouting on the younger one, you say, why are you shouting on her? It is what you sow, you will reap now. Children learn more from action than what you say. I think we should be calmer a bit. We should be calmer a bit. We shout. And that's why you see some people on the phone, they are shouting. And that is why our society is so noisy. In the midnight, a church will be so bold. In the midnight, a church will be so bold as to start vigil by 12 midnight. In a community of people, they are playing the guitar, playing band, and they feel they have the right to disturb that environment on the ground that they are worshiping their God. It is only a chaotic society that can accept that. That in the midnight, you call a congregation. Your church has no soundproof. You are playing band, guitar, disturbing the whole environment. Even government cannot intervene. If government has failed, that is noise pollution. Then when the Muslim does it, the Christian gets angry. But when the Christian does it, the Christian says, leave it, we are worshiping God. We must regulate society. See, renowned historian Professor Tony Falola, university distinguished teaching professor and holder of the Francis and Jacob Sanga Mosika Chair in the Humanities at the University of Texas at Austin, offers a sweeping historical and political reading of Donald Trump's Christmas Day bombing of Sokoto and what it signals for Nigeria-US relations. I hope you know USA is gradually coming in. Tinubu has invited them. Perhaps Donald Trump has intimidated him. The fear of Trump to bad leadership is the beginning of wisdom. And Nigerians are saying, throw more bombs. Bomb them. So they are already landing. They will help you bomb the bandits. Congratulations. Your prayer has been answered. In this discourse, Falola situates the strike within a broader pattern of American power projection, arguing that Trump's interest is ultimately transactional. Falola talks about access to strategic resources in exchange for political backing. In his reading, Nigeria becomes a bargaining space where President Bola Tinubu may find alignment with United States interests useful for regime stability at home. So this conversation with Falola also turns to the internationalization of Nigeria's internal questions. Falola in this interview reveals how Biafran lobbyists are intensifying pressure on Trump. He frames Igbo political aspirations within United States policy debates and diaspora politics. So this is a continuation of the Falola interview. But wait, the interview will come. Alleged 8.7 billion naira fraud. Court remands Malami son, wife in prison. Yeah, Malami. But you can see the way they are involving their children in all this mess. All of them. And they are also bringing up the children to take over from them. And you are there sitting down watching. They've governed you. And their children will take over and continue to govern you. I'm not saying their children don't have the right to govern. No. But I'm also saying that you have the right to aspire to govern. Because you can see they are all pulling their sons along. Are you not watching? They pull their sons along. And you, daddy, after work, you go and sit down in one bar. You are not thinking of say, hey, these men are carrying their children along. Before you know that, Shea Magide will bring his own son. He will pull him along. It is yes, every father wants their children to do well. But you are watching them. Are you not pulling your sons and your daughters? But why are they not pulling their daughters? It's mostly their sons. Why is it mostly their sons? Where are the girls? Where are the girls? Where are the girls? Okay, Ibori's daughter is around. Ibori's daughter is around. Okay. Me, I'm pulling my daughters too. I've told them they should not allow. I'm indoctrinating them every day. They should fight. They should fight. That if they need to throw punches to fix the country, they should get ready. I'm not telling them to be gentle. Come and be forming mommy. They will form mommy and they will be tough mommies. It is splash. Are you a tough mommy? Are you a tough girl? If you are tough, you are my girl. I like tough girls. A tough girl is not necessarily a bad girl. She's tough and hot. Our women are beautiful. African mothers, I greet you.
Splash FM 105.5. Everyone.
I think that this is a very interesting conversation, and I will not allow it to go without making this intervention.
Significant.
Well, people have argued that North West is the most significant area. So we are not privy to its calculation, but we can guess. First, power creates signals and symbolism that I stay on the Gulf of Guinea. I'm not even close to Nigeria, and I can attack you. That's symbolism. That's a signal that when I'm ready to go anywhere, you cannot stop me. Second, and this is a very painful analysis, we are not sure that the federal government was telling the truth when it said it knew about it. They said they collaborated, but they made a small mistake, which is that they have intelligence. If the Tinubu government has intelligence, why couldn't he use it himself?
Perhaps he He doesn't have the precision weapons to do that.
He has an army. He can move an army.
He doesn't want to move a ground force in there. It'll be fire for fire.
Well, that is his country. Because once you have once you say you have the intelligence.
I'm just thinking aloud.
Yeah, if you have the intelligence, your intelligence will tell you how strong the army is. It can be stronger than the Nigerian army. But and Tinubu may say, okay, if Trump is doing my job for me, why will he not be grateful? Because if it's true that he's also looking for those people and somebody helps you to destroy them, you play a double game. You remember he has not criticized Trump for doing that. It is.
He has been strategically silent.
It's deliberate. I did a TV interview on it in which everybody was saying, this is your sovereignty being encroached upon. But he's silent. Which means, well, I know Trump will collect his money back secretly. He's a transactional leader. I mean, the materials will run into millions of dollars that he used. You and I will not know when the Tinubu government pays for that. But he will collect his money.
Is Trump done with Nigeria?
We don't know that. We don't know that because he may strike again.
What does he want?
He wants resources. By now, they'll be behind the door negotiations that you and I are not aware.
Nigerians are saying he can come take it. That even our leaders have not used the resources for the benefit of the people.
Well, that is one argument which raises suffering. Call it sovereignty. Sovereignty against sovereignty. So if people are suffering, do they care about sovereignty? Which is exactly what you are saying. That if you are not using the resources to solve the issues of poverty, what does it matter? Some people are saying, don't let us talk about the sovereignty argument. Let us talk about the crisis, the insecurity, and the suffering, which are two separate arguments.
Will bombing Sokoto solve the problem of banditry? Because they are still hitting. They are everywhere.
Oh, and they demonstrated their capacity just a few days ago. Just going to an open market, killed 35, 36 people, and carried the rest away. So it has not solved the problem. So we are not party to what the federal government and the US government are talking about, because this will be security of confidential nature.
Is Trump interested in 2027 election in Nigeria?
I don't see the evidence, but I hear the gossip.
What do you hear?
The gossip coming from different sectors. One, first of all, there is a rumor of the coup. And the rumor of the coup, people are saying there is a Chinese that leaked it. I have no evidence. That's why I'm calling it a rumor, that he will have been dead on October 1st. That's a gossip. That coup was intended to assassinate him. I have no evidence. That's just a gossip. But they keep telling us the investigation is ongoing. And they've released names, including that of a former governor, a minister. But they have not told us anything. And we don't know the conclusion. And there is a Biafran wing that also formed the lobby saying, Trump, come. That aspect is there. And we do not know. Members of the caliphate are also not happy with Tinubu. And they have made it clear that they're not happy with him because of the nature of appointments, because he's a monopolist that does not like to share power. He wants to concentrate power, which is a gossip about removing Shetima. And if you look at the duties in Lagos, there are two major sources of revenues: customs in Lagos and oil in Niger Delta. Anchored to the NMPC, the North is saying that they are being controlled by Yoruba people.
But they controlled it in Buhari's time.
But in politics, you don't talk about the past. You talk about what you are losing at the moment. And they are saying, bear in mind, many Nigerian politicians have no business. They don't. You understand? So when they're out of power, you are also saying they should become broke. And they are not going to accept being broke.
You just talked about the Biafran lobbyists. Who are these people?
Well, but they have never gone away. The most articulate is Kano. Who is very clear? Kano is very clear. It's an insurgency. So you have the Niger Delta insurgency. You have the Ududua Republic insurgency. You have the Fulani insurgency. And people have said, why focus on him? Why just focus on Kanu if there are other people? Why are you kind to the Niger Delta insurgents and you're not kind to him? Why do you call for the integration of Boko Haram elements into the army and police? That they're basically doing the same thing. Why do you focus on him? That's one. Because he doesn't speak for himself, remember. He speaks for a larger number of people. You may not agree with his rhetoric, you may disagree with his style, but he's not just speaking for himself. So, the Civil War ended, but it doesn't mean that the idea has ended. The idea has never ended. To those who did not suffer from that war, they don't understand trauma and memory. Because it's the only region in Nigeria that underwent that trauma. And you have to be fair to them. They remain traumatized. And what that war said is, look, we don't know whether they are going to kill us again. They are not giving us presidential power. And they are making us second-class citizens. So they have to create pressure groups. And part of that pressure group is not just domestic. It's also manifested in other countries.
It's international.
Yes, the lobby. They are part of the lobby that says Muslims are persecuting us, which is not new. Ojukwu said the same thing.
Yes, if you even read that declaration.
He said it, that this is genocide. So, the number we may be exaggerating, the effect may be exaggerating, but you have to include them among the lobby talking to American Christian fundamentalists.
And now that Trump has come, will he help them?
So there's a joke. If he wants to help them, why can't he give them asylum? Why is he giving Afrikaner asylum in South Africa? So they say, if you love the Christians a lot, why don't you say 1 million? I will let you live in US. So some people are criticizing him for that. But as I said previously, you have to also look at his domestic politics, in which Christian fundamentalists are also part of MAGA. So it's a base that he also has to satisfy.
Do you see the US government supporting a Christian presidential candidate in the 2027 election?
They may not frame it that way. They may not frame it that way. Remember, Jonathan is of the belief that the US government was part of those who made it possible for him to lose power.
He's not happy with Obama.
Yes. He said it. Some people say they have the proof. Some people say they don't have the proof. But for a transactional politician like Tinubu, that game may be very complex. Because like both of Trump and Tinubu are dealers. These are political dealers. Very astute in their game. Because the way Tinubu may say, Mr. Trump, what do you want? And as a transactional politician, he can give it. So, Tinubu is not like Buhari. Buhari may be a bad manager, but he wasn't as transactional as Tinubu. Tinubu is a kind of president who do want gold in Samfara. Let's talk about it. And that's how transactional politicians behave.
And Trump likes that.
Yeah, both of them share that in common.
Nicolas Maduro did not understand him.
he did, but because, he kept saying, let us reduce the price of petrol. Let's negotiate. But he wanted more. He wanted to take over the entire thing.
State Affairs with Edmond Bilo is live. State Affairs with Edmond Bilo is live.
I think that this is a very interesting conversation, and I will not allow it to go without making this intervention. Number one, we have to let go of falsehood in Nigeria if we want to make progress. And there are fallacies that have continued to plague Nigeria. Number one of them is that we had a wonderful past and leaders who were honest and straightforward. And now the barbarians have come and they are eating at the barn. Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe was found guilty for diverting government money to fund ACB by Walter Sutton panel. That panel found him guilty, and Zik only pleaded political persecution. He diverted government money into ACB Bank, which was a private business of Zik. And this was a petition arising from an NCNC member, Mr. Eya, and Zik lost those shares. That's how ACB became a government bank. Chief Obafemi Awolowo in 1962, when Majekudumi set up a panel, Coca Commission of Inquiry into the affairs of certain parastatals in Western Nigeria, was described as running an ingenious scheme to divert government funds for private use. He was described as reckless and brazen in the way he diverted the funds of the Western Nigerian Marketing Board, which had about £6 million at the time Awolowo became premier. And by the time he left, they were in deficit of £2.something million. He was also found to have diverted government money to private individuals called the Nigerian National Investment Company, led by Chief Alfred Rewane, S.O. Badamosi, and other people, and two others, including Shoni Barre. And those loans given to the company, of the £6 million they got, only 500,000 was paid back. The rest was diverted to the Action Group. In his own book, My March Through Prison, Awolowo recounted in his own book that this was a plan they had to raise money using those companies and later convert those monies to the Action Group, because they had studied the Labour Party of Israel and found out that the Labour Party of Israel was a very rich party who had resources, and those resources made it possible for the party not to be controlled by rich individuals. Why was Awolowo looking for ways to fund UPA Action Group without the individuals? He was looking because by 1962, he had almost lost the party to the rich people. So why I'm giving you this background is that what happened in 2015 also happened in 1983. Chief Bola Ige took 2 million naira bribe from Great Nigerian Insurance Company to fund Action Group. He was found guilty by General Buhari's tribunal and went to prison. He was later granted pardon by General Babangida. So the question is, how do we go forward in Nigeria? Announcing catching the thieves will not solve the problem. We need to find out, how did our system fail so much that no civil servant has been known to come out to say, I did not allow Colonel Dasuki to transfer this money? How come no civil servant said so? How come the civil servants in the office of the NSA put the money together under a guise of supply of vehicles and transferred it to individual accounts? We need to go beyond catching the thief to finding out why our system failed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is really not a substantive contribution, but I see some dimensions, of non-sequitur, something that will regress into overgeneralization, building on. I thought the contribution of Chief, my brother Osita Chidoka, was very, very solid, but it should be appreciated in the discussion with discernment. And my sense is that we should not try to wear lenses that are searching for saints, when indeed we are searching for heroes. Heroes are sinners. But there are elements in their contributions that constitute the benchmarks that define the standard of their age and remain ideals that are sustained over time. And that's what makes them heroes. If you look into the lives of Abraham Lincoln, Winston Churchill, Martin Luther King, you'll be sorry about some of the untold stories about them. David was a murderer, but in the godly standard, he lived up to the ideal work, ideal standard that were worth canonizing in the scripture. Leaders of a generation are so called because they are discerning enough to be able to see into the seed of time and to see those ones that can germinate and are worth, reinvesting for the purpose of building the future. That they are failing, that the lives of Awolowo and Azikiwe had failing, did not make them any less heroes. It's just that they were not gods. If you read the wrong, if you as a Christian, for example, you read the wrong narratives, like the Da Vinci Code, you might as well be questioning whether Jesus was ever what the Bible claims it to be. I thank you very much.
So the lines are open. It is Splash 105.5 FM, the integrity station. So call the radio station, join the discourse. London property, Ozekume Useni arraigned over alleged forgery. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Hey, John.
I am John Oyesi.
Yes, good to hear your voice.
It's a pleasure listening to you again this morning. You see, two things quickly. The first one about our education. Do you know that those that kill our education in Nigeria are those that have been given honorary degree by various universities in Nigeria? They were the people that killed our educational standard and our educational norms. But at any occasion, see them giving them honorary degrees. And that's what happens in other sectors. Those that kill medicine are those that are getting honorary degree in doctors, in medicine. Now, the agitation by the Biafran people to me, is precipitated by the ill treatment of the Easterners. What led them to agitate up to now have not been addressed. If these things are addressed, nobody wants to divide Nigeria. Nigeria is a good country, but going to the east and look at what is happening, to me, the development is not evenly distributed. Even there are countries that fight civil war, and they come together, and they forget their yesterday. So what stopped Nigeria from doing the same thing? The man who anchored the fight, General Gowon, after the war, he said nobody won, nobody lost, or nobody lose. It is a brotherly fight. So after all this, why are they still holding them down?
How are they holding? Hello, John. How are they holding them down?
Okay, thank you very much. If you travel there and see their road and see other infrastructures, you will cry.
What is wrong with their roads?
Very, very dilapidated.
The roads in Europe. Hello, John. Let's take it one by one. The roads in Yoruba land, are they good?
Okay, look at Lagos Ibadan Expressway.
That is just one.
About Port Harcourt.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm talking about? Look at the road that passed through Tapele, Benin, Warri. These are federal roads. Are they good? You travel home every time. So let us come together and come onto a drawing board as brothers and sisters in one indivisible country. Nobody will agitate for secession. Nobody.
All right.
So that is my opinion.
Thank you.
Welcome, Edward.
Thank you. But if you do a comparative analysis, does Yoruba land have good roads? They don't. Yes, you can easily point to the Lagos-Ibadan Express Road. Which one again? Ibadan to Ife. For me to be on that road, that means that thing I'm going to look for. Ife-Ilesha Road, what's good about that road? Ilesha to Ado-Ekiti, one of some of the worst roads. Ado-Ekiti to Ondo. I've been on those roads. I've gone into villages. It is not just Igbo land. Nigeria is underdeveloped. That's the point I'm making. And I've heard this complaint about the Igbo being marginalized. The Igbo nation is more than 50 million. 50 million people. If a nation of 50 million people can easily cry out of marginalization, I pity them. I don't sympathize with them. The Igbos fought a war. That is the only region that fought a war, and a 3-year war. They stood their ground. They fought with bare hands to prove their humanity. They faced bombs. They attacked armored vehicles. They built bombs, Obunigwe. They refined oil. In spite of massive hunger, they stood their ground. Such a people are powerful. A people who with bare hands stood on the path of machines are not ordinary people. If after that experience they claim to be victims, I don't sympathize with them. I pity them. If the Igbo nation wants presidential power, they should go for it. And they should stop complaining. You go to the southeast, Igbo men are doing well with money. Come to the southwest, they have established businesses. Go to the north. They have established business empires. Falola talks of Igbo lobbyists in America, a very powerful group. Go to Brazil, Igbo boys are well established in business. Mozambique, Namibia, Botswana, Morocco, anywhere you will find them. And they still complain of victimization. I have no sympathy for them. I pity them. That means they don't know how to exert their power. The Igbo nation is too powerful to play the victim. I refuse to be a victim of the Nigerian state. Never. I cannot be victimized. O Igbo nation, arise and shine. You are too powerful to play the victim. I mean, you don't know how powerful you are. Listen, perhaps the Igbo nation need to rediscover itself. You need to rediscover yourself. The Igbo nation did not lose the war. They fought the war. If they want presidential power, they should grab it and run with it. Enough of these complaints. The lines are open. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir. My name is Edwin. I want to hello.
That line is not clear, Bosun.
Hello.
Let's pick your call. That line is not clear. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Edmond.
I can hear you.
Yeah. Let me make contribution on what you said earlier about our primary education that we need to do more to revive the education in Nigeria. Actually, I agree with you on that. But I have something to say about that. Why the government of our state, I want you to as a case study. He has employed teachers to various secondary schools and primary schools. But what remains now is the enabling environment. I want to tell you for a fact that some teachers that were employed, they just find it as a means of a livelihood. Not because they were teachers, not because they were so passionate to be, but because of the situations of Nigeria, they find themselves in the profession. So what will motivate them to fully deliver on that? What do they mean to make them to have interest in teaching, in imparting knowledge? Let the government of Nigeria do something about that. I'm not talking about the salary entirely. I'm talking about enabling environment. How do you motivate them to be in an environment that will motivate them to teach? And what will also motivate the students to also listen? I was in a school 2 days ago. Can you imagine in the town, not in the villages, they were studying under a shed, not in the village, around the Georgia. I don't want to mention the school. They were studying under a shed, not one class, not 2 classes, more than 5 classes. They were put outside studying there. So they were sitting outside in the sun. So can you just imagine what will the teacher be able to deliver then? And I want to ask also, how will the students assimilate when they are assimilating distraction around them, when they cannot even listen? And in one class that was demonstrated, we have almost 60 students at the time. All of them scattered about. So I think the government in Nigeria, both federal and state, are not paying attention to the education. And when we want the nation to grow, focus more on the educational sector. But you can see that our government that we have in Nigeria, from state to the federal, to the local, they are not paying attention to teaching. They are not paying attention to our classroom. What they are mostly caring about is politics. And that is not helping us. In fact, I was so, do I say I was ashamed or I was angry? Because there is nothing that will motivate the child to say they want to impart knowledge to them. And especially that want to motivate them, they want to learn. Everything is just going on their own separately. God will help us until we have leaders that know the value of education. That's when Nigeria will start to move forward. Thank you. I'm enjoying the class always. Thank you. You have been a very good job, Mr. Edward. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mr. Kimbolu Shere. Thank you. Let's take this call before you go. That's Bosun. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
This is Akintola Biodun.
The ball is in your court.
Okay. This first time program. In fact, I'll be in solid. Back to education. You were talking the other time about physics teacher, one physics teacher in the school. The last caller talked about employment of the current administration. The question I will ask is this. Let us look at it from the angle of English teacher. Imagine one English teacher in a school. And that is why when you see the question of the day, you realize that GSS classes, they will be having maybe 20 OBJ questions, multiple choice questions. Just because the teacher to mark the essay part, they are not ready. In that regard, what usually translates to is that students now hate writing essays because they don't have people to teach them. You will go to a police station now, you will see students. You will asking the policeman to help them write statements. What is the essence of essay skill? Nobody is teaching them this aspect. Now, talk of oral English. I made reference to you 2 days ago while I was teaching. I was teaching them inflection number. Then I said that when you develop your program, I normally listen to how you pronounce words. Kudos to you, because you realize where there is consonant, you will pronounce C. Look at other radio presenters. That is to tell you the kind of education they are acquiring nowadays. I met someone recently, he told me he has been teaching English for 20 years. Now, when you want to pronounce a particular word, instead of saying drop, he said drop. Oh, can you see this? Definitely, if you have been teaching for 20 years, this particular subject, then the aspect of oral English, you are not that good at it. So our education, kudos to the governor, he has employed people. But what are the type of people he employs? Are they the ones that are competent or qualified? Since private school now, you will see teacher collecting 60,000 naira and you have to teach up to deliver. Edward Vilo, have a nice day, sir.
Thank you. I'm also thinking that we are going to get to a point where we are going to pay attention to pidgin English. You know, communication should not be so hard. You know, communication should not be so hard. We can't pronounce like Oyibo people. Yes, some of us will try. Even there are times you see a word in English, it should be pronounced as spelt, but they'll say no. Like when we're growing up, it is spelled as beret. It is beret. But you now go up, you know, they say it's calling, they say it's beret. Beret. So we need to get to a point where we will standardize English to meet our own system. You have American English,
America was colonized by Britain. We should have Nigerian English. That's advancement. Recently, Professor Egbokare released a Pidgin English dictionary. And I'll be reading it. Because why can't we speak Pidgin? What is easy for everybody to speak? And then we standardize it. I'm not saying it is wrong to speak the Queen's English. If you can, fine. But that should not be the standard. To say that one is brilliant. We should educate the mind. Make communication easy. We can blend it. And I'm happy that some Pidgin English words are now going into the Oxford Dictionary. I hope you know. Because most of these words that we are even speaking, some of them were just ordinary words on the street. Like Olakpa is police, is it not? When we were growing up in Benin, we used to use Olakpa. I didn't even know it was Yoruba language. So, Olakpa don't show. Olakpa don't show. At the point we were calling it Wangara. When we see in Benin, say Wangara don't show. And it became so popular that on a good day you can put Wangara in the dictionary. Say Wangara also means police. That's how languages evolve. So that it's not Britain that will be teaching us how to speak English. We say, okay, Britain, thank you for giving us English. Now we want to speak it our own way. And our professors will now standardize it, codify it. Yoruba in Ilesha is different from Yoruba in Ibadan. Yes. Is it not? Yes. So why do you want me to now speak English like a British man when I'm in Nigeria? That is my point. Bosun, let's do the advert. The Splash 105.5 FM. Stay tuned.
State Affairs with Edmond Below.
I think that this is a very interesting conversation, and I will not allow it to go without making this intervention. Number one, we have to let go of falsehood in Nigeria if we want to make progress. And there are fallacies that have continued to plague Nigeria. Number one of them is that we had a wonderful past and leaders who were honest and straightforward. And now the barbarians have come and are eating at the barn. Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe was found guilty for diverting government money to fund ACB by Walter Sutton panel. That panel found him guilty, and Zik only pleaded political persecution. He diverted government money into ACB Bank, which was a private business of Zik. And this was a petition arising from an NCNC member, Mr. Ayer, and Zik lost those shares. That's how ACB became a government bank. Chief Obafemi Awolowo in 1962, when Majekudumi set up a panel, Coca Commission of Inquiry into the affairs of certain parastatals in Western Nigeria, was described as running an ingenious scheme to divert government funds for private use. He was described as reckless and brazen in the way he diverted the funds of the Western Nigerian Marketing Board, which had about £6 million at the time Awolowo became premier. And by the time he left, they were in deficit of £2.something million. He was also found to have diverted government money to private individuals called the Nigerian National Investment Company, led by Chief Alfred Rewane, S.O. Badamosi, and other people, and two others, including Shoni Barry. And those loans given to the company, of the £6 million they got, only 500,000 was paid back. The rest was diverted to the Action Group. In his own book, My March Through Prison, Awolowo recounted in his own book that this was a plan they had to raise money using those companies and later convert those monies to the Action Group, because they had studied the Labour Party of Israel and found out that the Labour Party of Israel was a very rich party who had resources, and those resources made it possible for the party not to be controlled by rich individuals. Why was Awolowo looking for ways to fund UPA Action Group without the individuals? He was looking because by 1962, he had almost lost the party to the rich people. So why I'm giving you this background is that what happened in 2015 also happened in 1983. Chief Bola Ige took 2 million naira bribe from Great Nigerian Insurance Company to fund Action Group. He was found guilty by General Buhari's tribunal and went to prison. He was later granted pardon by General Babangida. So the question is, how do we go forward in Nigeria? Announcing catching the thieves will not solve the problem. We need to find out, how did our system fail so much that no civil servant has been known to come out to say, I did not allow Colonel Dasuki to transfer this money? How come no civil servant said so? How come the civil servants in the office of the NSA put the money together under a guise of supply of vehicles and transferred it to individual accounts? We need to go beyond catching the thief to finding out why our system failed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is really not a substantive contribution, but I see some dimensions, of non-secular, something that will regress into overgeneralization, building up. I thought the contribution of Chief, my brother Osita Chidoka, was very, very solid, but it should be appreciated in the discussion with discernment. And my sense is that we should not try to wear lenses that are searching for saints when indeed we are searching for heroes. Heroes are sinners, but there are elements in their contributions that constitute the benchmarks that define the standard of their age and remain ideals that are sustained over time, and that's what makes them heroes. If you look into the lives of Abraham Lincoln, Winston Churchill, Martin Luther King, you'll be sorry about some of the untold stories about them. David was a murderer, but in the godly standard, he lived up to the ideal work, ideal standard that were worth canonizing in the scripture. Leaders of a generation are so called because they are discerning enough to be able to see into the seed of time and to see those ones that can germinate and are worth, reinvesting for the purpose of building the future. That they are failing, that the lives of Awolowo and Azikiwe had failing, did not make them any less heroes. It's just that they were not gods.
Welcome to this side of time. Now, Dele Farotimi wrote a book entitled Imperatives of the Nigeria Revolution. Imperatives of the Nigeria Revolution. He talks about the weaponization of ignorance, and he identifies that as a problem militating against our development. Dele Farotimi, author of Imperatives of the Nigerian Revolution, is on State Affairs. Welcome to this time. Welcome to another time of reflection. It's another time to understand. See, in this book, the author is angry. I am not. You know why? Listen. He says, how men have bent laws, how justice has been corrupted to the point where it no longer serves the purpose of the poor man, but the narrow interest of the few. Who are the few here? The author is not done. He continues. The inescapable conclusion I had come to years ago are the arguments contained in the current book, where I will endeavor to make a case for the inevitability of the inescapable conclusion that a revolution is the only way forward for the Nigerian people. Take note. The author says a revolution is the only way forward for the Nigerian people. I just read from this book, Imperatives of the Nigerian Revolution, by Delefa Rotimi. Delefa Rotimi is on State Affairs. Good to have you on State Affairs.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be with you.
How are you?
As best as can be in the circumstances of our country.
Has Nigeria happened to you?
Oh, it happens to the Nigerian every day. It's just the stage of our consciousness of what is happening to us that differs. Nigeria happens to the Nigerian every day. We seek to prevent Nigeria from happening to us. Sometime in the morning, you find Nigerians waking up and crouching on the floor and praying against all the dangers of the country that they have built. So Nigeria is happening to them on a daily basis. And it happens to me as well. If I had to get up in my house at 4:29 this morning in order to make a court date in Ibadan when I shouldn't even be here in the first place, it begins to tell you about how Nigeria happens to us variously. Every time you have to do something that was not meant to be done, but you have to do it to survive the country in which you live, that is Nigeria happening to you. When you have to get out of your house as early as 5 o'clock in the morning to make your office for 8 o'clock, that is Nigeria happening to you. When you have to pay out of pocket for children's school fees when the education is meant to be free even at primary school level, or these children are going to schools that are best teaching illiteracy and you have to go out of pocket to get good schools, that is Nigeria happening to you. Nigeria happens to the Nigerian on a daily basis. Whether you are poor, rich, members of the ruling class, or one of their victims, Nigeria happens to all of us every day. It's the degree to which we are conscious of what is happening to us that differs from person to person.
Degree of consciousness.
Yeah, degree of consciousness.
What does that mean?
You have some nebulists in place of citizens. Persons who are sleepwalking through life, perpetually making excuses for their oppressors and ruiners instead of focusing on what is happening to them and how to prevent that from being passed down to the next generation. They would rather make excuses on behalf of those who are ruining their lives. So it's a function of consciousness. If you are unaware of the fact that you are oppressed, you are more receptive to the idea of oppression. But the more aware you become, the more conscious you are, the more you can articulate the condition of the victim. You become a danger to the oppressive system, and you become an irritant to those who have become accepting of oppression. So,
well, in your book, you accepted that there's the weaponization of ignorance.
Yeah. The fact that I can identify it is suggestive of the fact that I'm not affected by that weaponized ignorance. The average Nigerian sit down on a daily basis and they are busy consuming news written for them by those who are looking to shape the narrative and focus their attention away from the real issues. They are told that it's the Christians. They are told that it's the Muslims. And these are coming through supposedly credible news channels. You do not have a media that questions any longer. Largely, the Nigerian media has become complicit. So who is teaching anybody? The weaponized ignorance comes in multiple fashion. Today in Nigeria, you don't have a national curriculum that is known to all. You don't have a national education curriculum that we can interrogate. It comes out piecemeal at the discretion of whoever is administering the system whenever they care, which is why you are getting all kind of funny textbooks coming out and being flagged. Nobody can tell you that this is the national curriculum. That is the beginning of the weaponization of ignorance. I identified weaponized ignorance for the first time in 1994 as an undergraduate. That was the first time I used that phrase. I could see the deliberate undereducation of the Nigerian child. So if we're talking weaponized ignorance, you must understand that it's not a one-line item. It's a systemic thing. The weaponized ignorance has affected the trade. You don't have tradesmen any longer. Where you have them, they are barely literate. You have tailors who do not even understand the geometry of the human body. So they sew for you sometimes. You wear a shirt and you find that one part is taller than the other side, and then it's looking like a carpenter sewed the shirt. That is part of the weaponized ignorance. Everything is degraded. The human capacity to imagine, to function, and to even execute instructions have been degraded when you deliberately ignore to train people to the point where a country as rich and blessed as Nigeria has over 130 million children. Those are the ones between the ages of 5 to 14 out of school. 30 million. What kind of future are you expecting from children that you are refusing to train?
So will you want to blame the ignorant for not understanding that the oppressor is after him?
You see, the Yorubas have a proverb I would attempt to translate. And what it says is that the wise will teach the ignorant. But that presumes the readiness of the ignorant to learn. Unfortunately for us in Nigeria, especially those of us who presume to know, who are looking to teach, we're competing with a system that has weaponized even religion. Religion in its root comes from the Latin word religare, or you go to Old French, religio. Both of them means the same thing, to bind. But what is being bound by religion is the human imagination, which is the seat of our creativity. You then come to a place like Nigeria where religion has been weaponized to the point where charlatans are touting all kind of funny precepts and principles and dogmas are being taught, and people are embracing them as truth. People are telling you they enter toilet in one European country to come out in the toilet in another European country. People are telling you to fast and pray for Nigeria when they didn't fast and pray to build all the prayer cities and redemption camps that they are building all over the place. People are telling you to embrace Sharia. Meanwhile, the Sharia that they are embracing here does not build the kind of fantastic countries that have been built in the Emirates or even in Saudi Arabia. Religion has become a destructive force, an excuse for not doing anything, for inaction, for cowardice. So when you talk about ignorance, you must understand that in the Nigerian context, the ignorance that is already weaponized against the people by the refusal to educate or by the intention to miseducate is compounded by the fact that religion is layered on top of that, and it does not promote the use of the human intellect. If anything, it says leave everything to God.
I have read your books. The Imperatives of the Nigerian Revolution and this, Do Not Die in Their War. Look at this. If you read these books, you will walk through the mind of the author, Dele Farotimi. So having read your work, I come out with the conclusion that he is a radical intellectual. Then if he's an intellectual and he resides in an ignorant nation, has he failed?
Well, let me put it this way. When I started out, I imagined that I could change my country by sheer force of persuasion. And then I found very quickly that I embraced what I these days describe as the Elijah complex. The Elijah complex is the one that leads you into believing that you are the only one that knows how to do it. And if you can't do it, then it simply can't be done. Remember, Elijah was busy calling fire from heaven, burn the offering, pour water and all. He did all those mighty works, and then he heard that Jezebel was after him, and he ran to the cave of Adullam and he started.
State Affairs with Edmond Bilo is live.
You see, next week I will give you the full Dele Farotimi interview. But as we speak, the United States has begun the bombing of Iran. And the target is to remove the revolutionary government of Iran. There is near total internet blackout in Iran as we speak. The United Kingdom is saying we do not want to see wider regional conflict. That's the UK's government's position. United States and Israel launch an attack on Iran as Donald Trump confirms major combat operations are underway. The Israel Defense Forces says retaliatory strikes have been launched by Iran. Trump has urged Iranians to take over the Iranian government, saying it will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations. That is Trump telling Iranians, take over now. What will Trump do to Tinubu after Iran? He has gone to South America. He has dealt with Maduro. Certainly they are going to take out Ayatollah. But Iran should fight. Iran fight. Iran fight. Iran fight. If you need to die, fight. Israel fight. America fight. Right? It is fighting time. What will they do with Africa? Nigeria fight. Washington has been ramping up the pressure on Tehran to agree a new deal on its nuclear program. Trump said yesterday he was not happy with Iran's negotiating positions during nuclear talks. Which negotiation? They were just waiting, they were just biding their time, moving the ships. It was clear they are going to bomb Iran, and they are bombing Iran. With Ayatollah go down? Let's see. Are you watching? Are you monitoring what is going on? The United States is on rampage. Who will stop them? What will Donald Trump do to Tinubu? We'll see as we go. Time will tell. Or what will Tinubu do to Trump? Yes. What will Tinubu do to Trump? Tinubu fight. Tinubu fight. Next week is another time on State Affairs. I am Edmondo Pilo. The next program is Ijoba Tiwa with Sheung Special. Stay tuned. Stay cool.
State Affairs with Edmondo Pilo is live.
Splash FM 105.5.